Hello there, Ray here. We have a brand new 1.20 version. This is pre-release 5, which removes some cool tricks that you could do, introducing some new rares to collect. Plus the closest thing we'll ever get to actually breaking bedrock. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed learning new tricks, and let's get into all the changes. So it's normal to be able to put on the carved pumpkins on armor stands, as well as putting them onto the player's head. But there was actually a bug which allowed you to also place on jack-o'-lantern heads, not only on armor stands, but also on the player head. Although they didn't work like jack-o'-lantern heads, and they would actually make endermen mad if you used them, they also didn't produce the blur on the player. So you can actually get this rare type of armor stand with a jack-o'-lantern head if you do it before updating, or even put one on yourself. This is also cool, so we can mimic Gordy and choose if we want him to have a carved pumpkin that doesn't have the lit up eyes, or we can have the jack-o'-lantern which does. But this does not work for pumpkins. Gordy's the character you see as my avatar and has a long history with me. Ever since 1.15, it's possible to put jack-o'-lanterns inside of an anvil, along with the curse books, either Curse of Vanishing or Curse of Binding. And if you had enough to actually pay for it, you could put those curse enchantments on the actual jack-o'-lantern in survival, which were not only novelty items, as you could trick players to placing this Curse of Binding on their head and then they wouldn't be able to take it off. Or you could combine this with the previous one that we just talked about, where you can have enchanted jack-o'-lantern heads on armor stands. Now they left it in so you could still enchant carved pumpkins, so you could still do these tricks, just not with the actual jack-o'-lantern. What do you think of them changing these very niche and kind of fun little things you can actually do in the game? There could be an argument that since it is a jack-o'-lantern, similar to like the carved pumpkin, that the player should be able to wear it. But maybe because the jack-o'-lantern consists of like a torch inside of it, they don't think it's very safe to have a torch inside of your helmet. Which also makes these a new type of rare, although when you place them on the ground, they don't show their enchantment. There was also this bug when it came to anvils falling and landing on the slab where they should just break off. Instead, they were also destroying items. So notice we have 8 anvils here, and if I break this one, that means 7 of them should have fell on the slab and dropped their items. But instead, all we ended up with was a single anvil. That's because the ones that were falling were smashing the items from the previous ones that were already broken off from the slab. But this has been fixed so that the anvils will just fall and drop as items rather than trying to destroy anything that is underneath them. They also fixed this weird bug to do with controlling a mob, such as like a pig, and then if that mob would happen to get the levitation effect, and then you would also no longer control it. You can see it's going to float up in the air, but when it comes back down to the ground, after the levitation goes away, it all seems normal, except when you try to control it once again, it starts flying once again. You can actually control the flight by switching between the carrot and the stick, so you fall and then starting back up again so you don't hit the ground again. So with this trick, you can actually fly infinitely upwards. This reminds me a bit of the trick that I discovered to do with flying while inside of a minecart, except this is so much easier to do. This bug seemed to come about just because they changed up a previous bug related to levitation and controllable mobs. Now over the last few weeks, we've been seeing changes to the way player interacts with different blocks, even if you're on the very edge of them. But there is one block that has been causing Mojang a lot of stress trying to get fixed, which is the honey block. We've already seen several fixes where they tried to make it so players couldn't jump off of it, but even after that, there is still ways for players to bounce off of it after making a jump just prior to it. And during our live stream, we had a couple of very talented parkour players who were able to actually bounce off of honey blocks and not get the stickiness. The explanation behind how it works is a bit complicated, but this type of bounce was actually fixed in this snapshot. It really does seem that they're trying to crack down on even very small bugs related to the honey blocks and avoiding the stickiness of it. Where I feel like in the past, they might have just said it was good enough and continued on with other bug fixes. So what do you think about them really focusing on this one particular thing? Now this fix also affects other things like picking up the bounciness of slime or slipperiness of ice, or even avoiding damage from magma blocks if you do the same type of setup. There was a bug where if you broke a block and then place in a new block in that area, you can see it already has the animation as if you started breaking on this new block. That's been fixed along with this other bug where if there's a block that you cannot normally break, if you attempt to break it, it'll actually show you as if you're starting to break it with that little pixel there in the center changing out, which is deceiving as you can't actually mine this, so that's also been fixed. They also resolved this very unusual bug where people would load up worlds like in a 1.19 version. Here you can see there's a savanna on the bottom and a desert in front. But when they would update to 1.20 pre-release 2, it would actually change out the savanna and regenerate it. And you can see in the background where there was this desert, it chopped it all up and put in a big body of water. It's obviously not intended that people's worlds will regenerate chunks with the new biomes just because they update the world. So it's a good thing they fix this before lots of people started updating their worlds. They were still having problems with markers, which are little things you can summon in for map makers. These things were still causing pressure plates to be pressed down and not released. So with this fix here, hopefully that is completely resolved. And when it came to trimmed armor that had enchantments on it, you no longer see these streaks across the helmet, as this was Z fighting. But the game can't decide what it should show, either the enchantments or the trim. They also made items appear with the correct lighting, as you can see on the right hand side. It's a bit too dark, where on the left hand side, it looks fine. When it comes to the crafting recipes, they weren't putting all the wool right beside each other or all the beds beside each other, so now they'll be better organized. Now when you open up an enchanting table, you normally see this book right here on the left hand side, but recently that book has been accidentally removed, so they brought it back. Now learn about more rare things you can collect in Survival World with this playlist here, and big thanks to everyone for the amazing support over the last 14 years of me playing this game, which has let me reach this insane milestone of producing 1,000 videos here on YouTube. Go binge watch them all if you haven't already, and I look forward to producing another 1,000 in the future. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next one. Bye bye!